Summer of 1830. Silver Creek, Montana Territory. I never thought I'd see the day when a woman gets dragged to the town square, tied to a whipping post, while the whole damn town just watches. But that's exactly what happened. It was already scorching by 9 in the morning, heat waves dancing off the dirt streets. You could hear the cicadas screaming in the cottonwoods. But folks didn't gather because of the heat that day. No, sir. They came to watch blood stain the dust. Her name was Magnolia Rose, 23 years old, beautiful, defiant, and far too brave for her own good. They said she'd refused a marriage proposal 4 times to a man who owned half the territory. Thaddeus Blackwood, 52, wealthy, cruel, the kind of man who saw women as property, nothing more than another asset to acquire. And when he couldn't buy her heart, he paid the mayor to break her spirit. They bound her wrists to that post right there in the center of town, tore the back of her cotton dress clean open. The deputy, Harlan Webb, he raised that leather whip. His hand was shaking. When that first lash cracked across her skin, she didn't scream, didn't even flinch. That silence, it cut deeper than any blade, louder than thunder. Old Mrs. Patterson turned away. Young Timothy Fletcher covered his eyes. The Reverend, he just bowed his head. But nobody stepped forward. Nobody. And that right there, that burned hotter than the Montana sun beating down on us all. Not the whip, not the blood trailing down her back, but the fact that decent people, God-fearing people, let it happen. All because one woman dared to say no. Then came the second lash, and that's when we heard it. Clip-clop, clip-clop, slow, steady, deliberate. The sound echoed down Main Street like a heartbeat, made every head turn before that whip could fall a third time. From the Eastern Trail came a rider, tall in the saddle, broad-shouldered, long duster coat covered in trail dust, hat pulled low, shadowing half his face. But you could feel something in the way he sat that horse. This man didn't rattle, didn't bend, didn't break. When he stopped dead center in front of that crowd, the whole square went silent. The kind of silence you get right before a lightning strike. Mayor Cornelius Finch, he cleared his throat, puffed out his chest. "Sir, this is official town business." But the stranger, he didn't even look at Finch. His eyes were locked on Magnolia, bleeding, breathing hard through the pain, but still standing tall, chin up, eyes fierce. Then he spoke. "Cut her down." 3 words, voice low, flat, cold as winter iron. Deputy Webb froze, whip still raised. Finch tried again. "Now see here, this woman violated a contract." The stranger cut him off. "You in the business of selling women now? Listen, if this story's hitting different, if you feel that fire building, go ahead and hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe because trust me, this is just the beginning. Oh, and drop a comment below. Where are you watching from? I want to know who's riding with us on this journey." Thaddeus Blackwood stepped forward then, arms crossed, face like carved granite. "I paid her father's debts. She's mine by legal contract." Magnolia, weak but unbroken, found her voice. "My father never owed you a single cent." And Blackwood, he just smiled. The stranger swung down from his horse. Boots hit the dirt with a heavy thud that seemed to shake the very ground. He walked straight toward Magnolia, calm, purposeful, like he had all the time in the world and nothing left to lose. "What's your name?" he asked, voice softer now but still carrying that edge. "Magnolia Rose." "Your father really owe this man money?" "No, sir. My father died with his honor intact, clean accounts, clear conscience." The stranger nodded once, turned back to face the crowd. "I said, cut her down." That's when folks noticed his hands, rough, scarred, the hands of a man who'd spent his whole life working land that didn't want to be worked, building something from nothing. Some recognized him then. Dutch Merritt, the hermit rancher from the northern hills. Hadn't been seen in Silver Creek for near about 3 years, not since his wife died in childbirth, along with the baby. They said he'd become a ghost after that, living alone in that cabin, talking to nobody, just him and his cattle and his grief. But here he was now, and there was something dangerous in his eyes, something that looked a lot like a man who'd already lost everything, which made him the most dangerous kind. Mayor Finch's hand twitched. "Mr. Merritt, you got no authority here." Dutch's hand dropped to his hip. He didn't draw, didn't need to, just that small movement, that single gesture, and every armed man in that square suddenly remembered what fear tasted like. "Cut her down, now." Deputy Webb's knife was out before Finch could protest again. The ropes fell, Magnolia collapsed, and Dutch caught her before she hit the ground. "You just made a powerful enemy," Blackwood said quietly. Dutch looked him dead in the eye. "Good." They rode hard. Dutch's horse, a big roan stallion, carried them both like they weighed nothing at all. Magnolia slumped against his chest, barely conscious, her back a mess of torn flesh and blood. He kept one arm locked around her waist, one hand near his Colt dragoon, eyes scanning the horizon behind them. Silver Creek disappeared in a cloud of dust. No words, no looking back, just the thunder of hooves and the whistle of wind and Magnolia's shallow breathing against his collarbone. They rode for hours, sun climbing higher, heat beating down merciless. Dutch's shirt was soaked through, half sweat, half Magnolia's blood. Finally, as the sun started its descent toward the western peaks, they came upon it. Willow Creek Trading Post. Small, weathered, half forgotten. The kind of place that existed between civilization and wilderness. The sign hanging crooked said, "Jonas Tucker, Provisions and Rest." Dutch pulled up, dismounted carefully, lifted Magnolia down like she was made of glass. Old Jonas Tucker hobbled out, thin, grey, smelling like tobacco and old leather. His eyes went wide when he saw the blood. "Sweet mercy! What happened?" "She needs water, bandages, somewhere to rest." Tucker nodded quickly. "Come on, I got a back room, clean, private." Dutch carried her inside. The place was dim, cool, smelled like dried herbs and wood smoke. He laid her down on a cot. She stirred, eyes fluttering open. "Why?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Why did you help me? You don't even know me." Dutch looked at her for a long moment. Something flickered across his face. Pain, memory, loss. Maybe that's exactly why. He turned to Tucker. "Anyone comes asking, you never saw us." Tucker swallowed hard. "What if they offer money?" Dutch's hand moved to his gun. "Then you better choose wisely." Night fell like a blanket. Dutch sat by the window, hat off now, showing a face weathered by wind and sun and sorrow. Maybe 35, maybe older, hard to tell with men who'd lived rough. Magnolia slept fitfully. Tucker had cleaned her wounds, applied some kind of salve, wrapped her in clean bandages, but Dutch couldn't shake the feeling, that itch between his shoulder blades, the one that said, "Something's wrong." He stepped outside, stars blazing overhead like shattered glass, crickets singing their night song. Then he saw it, fresh horse tracks, leading away from the trading post, recent, very recent. He walked around the building, found what he was looking for, a small pile of ashes, still warm, but no fire burning anywhere. Signal smoke. His jaw clenched. He burst back inside, found Tucker pretending to organize shelves in the dark. "Where's your telegraph?" "Don't got no." Dutch grabbed the old man's collar, slammed him against the wall. "The one you used to tell Blackwood where we are." Tucker's face crumpled. He offered gold, said he just wanted the girl back, said you wouldn't be hurt if I... You sold us out for gold. I didn't have a choice. He owns the bank. He owns the sheriff. He owns... Dutch released him, let him drop. That's the thing about cowards. They always got an excuse. He moved fast, gathered their supplies, lifted Magnolia, still barely conscious. "What's happening?" she murmured. "We gotta move, now." Before we ride into hell together, hit that like button if you're feeling this story, share it with your friends, subscribe because you're not ready for what comes next, and comment below, seriously, where are you watching from? I want to know my people. Outside, in the distance, torchlight flickered. They were coming. He turned to Tucker. "Anyone comes asking, you never saw us." Tucker swallowed hard. "What if they offer money?" Dutch's hand moved to his gun. "Then you better choose wisely." Dutch rode like the devil himself was chasing them. Because he was. Through the darkness, through the scrub brush, through narrow canyon passages that would swallow them whole if Dutch took one wrong turn. Magnolia held on, barely, her fingers gripping his shirt, her breath hot against his shoulder. "How many?" she whispered. 8, maybe 10. "Can we outrun them?" He didn't answer, which was answer enough. The canyon narrowed, walls rising up on both sides like stone giants, the horses' hooves echoing, clop, 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 bouncing off rock face. Behind them, shouts, commands, the sound of pursuit getting closer. "Dutch!" Magnolia's voice was stronger now, pain burning through the fog. "Dutch, you need to leave me, hide me somewhere. You can get away if—" "Not happening. You don't owe me anything. Maybe I owe myself something." The canyon opened suddenly, wide clearing, creek running through it, cottonwoods on the far side. Perfect place for an ambush. Dutch pulled up, breathing hard, thinking, calculating. "Can you ride?" he asked. "What? Can you ride? Alone?" She nodded. I think so." He helped her onto the horse, handed her the reins, pointed downstream. "Follow the creek, 2 miles. There's a cave, big opening, can't miss it. Wait for me there." "What are you going to do?" He pulled his rifle, checked the ammunition. "Buy you time." No, I won't leave you." "Magnolia." He looked at her then, really looked at her. "My wife's name was Caroline. She died 3 years ago. I couldn't save her. Couldn't do a damn thing but watch her slip away." His voice cracked, just a little. "Let me save you, please." She stared at him, tears cutting tracks through the dust on her face. Then she kicked the horse forward and disappeared into the darkness. Dutch turned, loaded his rifle, and waited. They came through the canyon like thunder. Torches, guns, faces twisted with righteousness and greed. Thaddeus Blackwood rode at the front. Expensive hat, expensive coat. But his eyes were cheap and mean. They spread out when they saw Dutch standing there, alone, rifle in hand. Blackwood pulled up. "Well now, the hermit's got some spine after all. Turn around, go home." Blackwood laughed, harsh, cold. "You killed my men back in Silver Creek, stole my property, and now you think you can just—" "What? Ask nicely?" "She's not property." "Everything's property if you got the money to buy it." He gestured to his men. "There's 8 of us, 1 of you. Now I'm a reasonable man. Tell me where the girl is, and I'll make this quick, painless even." Dutch smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "You ever notice how rich men always think money makes them bulletproof?" He raised the rifle, fired. Blackwood's hat flew off, hole right through the crown. The clearing erupted. Gunfire, shouting, chaos. Dutch moved like a man possessed, dropped behind the creek bank, used the cottonwoods for cover, fired, reloaded, fired again. 2 men went down, then 3, but there were too many. Too many angles, too many guns. A bullet caught him in the shoulder, spun him around. He hit the ground hard. Another bullet, this one in his side, hot, burning. He tried to stand, couldn't. The world was spinning, getting darker. Through the haze, he saw Blackwood dismount, walking toward him, gun drawn. "Should have taken the offer, Merritt." Dutch coughed, tasted copper. "Should have chosen a different day to die." Blackwood pressed the gun to Dutch's forehead. "Any last words?" Behind him, in the darkness, something moved. Dutch smiled through the blood. "Yeah, duck." The shot rang out. But it wasn't Blackwood who fired. He dropped like a stone, bullet hole clean through his shoulder, gun spinning away into the dirt. Magnolia stepped into the torchlight, rifle smoking in her hands, eyes wild, bandages showing through her torn dress, but she stood tall, steady, a woman who'd finally stopped running. "She was supposed to be gone," one of Blackwood's men started. "She was gone," Magnolia said quietly. "Then I heard the shooting, and I realized something." She worked the lever action. "I'm tired of running, tired of hiding, tired of letting men decide my fate." The remaining men, 5 of them, looked at each other, uncertain. Their boss was down, the girl they'd been chasing, she was armed, and the crazy hermit they'd shot, he was laughing, actually laughing. "She's got spirit," Dutch groaned from the ground. "Told you." Magnolia moved to him, kept the rifle trained on the men. "Can you ride?" "Can I breathe? That's the better question." She helped him up. He leaned heavy on her, blood soaking through his shirt, but he was alive. "What about him?" She gestured to Blackwood, writhing in the dirt. Dutch looked down at the man who'd caused all this. "Leave him. Let him crawl back to Silver Creek. Let everyone see what happens when you try to own what can't be bought." They moved toward the horse together. The remaining men, they just watched. Nobody wanted to be the next one shot. Magnolia and Dutch rode away. Behind them, Blackwood screamed curses into the night. But his words, they just scattered in the wind like dust. "Where are we going?" Magnolia asked. "Ever seen the Northern Hills?" "No." "You will now?" And maybe, just maybe, that was the beginning of something neither of them expected. They made it to Dutch's ranch just before dawn. The cabin sat in a valley between 2 ridges. Small, rough, but solid, built by hand, built with purpose. Dutch nearly fell getting off the horse. Magnolia caught him, barely. They stumbled inside together. The cabin was sparse. 1 room, fireplace, cot in the corner, table, 2 chairs. Everything a man needed, nothing he didn't. But it was clean, organized. The kind of place that showed someone still cared, even if they were alone. She laid him on the cot, started working on his wounds. The shoulder wound was clean, through and through. The side, that was worse. Bullet still lodged there. "This is going to hurt," she said. "Everything hurts already. What's a little more?" She used his knife, heated it in the fire first, cleaned it with whiskey. Then Dutch gripped the cot frame, didn't scream, just breathed through it. When she pulled the bullet out, he finally passed out. She bandaged him, used strips from her own dress, covered him with a blanket she found. Then she sat in the chair by the window, watching, waiting. The sun rose, golden light spilling across the valley. It was beautiful, peaceful. Nothing like Silver Creek with its dust and corruption and crowds. She could see why Dutch had chosen this place. A man could disappear here, could forget, could heal, or could haunt himself with memories. On the mantel, she saw it. A small photograph. A woman, young, pretty, holding her pregnant belly, smiling. Caroline. Magnolia touched the frame gently. "I won't let him die for me," she whispered to the photograph. "I promise you that." Behind her, Dutch stirred, mumbled something in his fever sleep. She moved to his side, placed a cool cloth on his forehead. Outside, the sound of horses approaching. Her blood went cold. Magnolia grabbed Dutch's rifle, moved to the window. 6 riders. But these weren't Blackwood's men. They wore badges. Sheriff Morton Graves, the whole posse from Silver Creek. They pulled up outside. Graves dismounted slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. "Magnolia Rose," he called out. "We just want to talk." She pumped the rifle. "Talk from there." "Look, things have changed. Thaddeus Blackwood. He's been arrested." She blinked. "What?" "Turns out that contract he had? Complete forgery. We found the real documents. Your father never owed him anything, never signed anything. Blackwood fabricated the whole thing." Magnolia's hands shook. "Then why did you let them whip me?" Graves had the decency to look ashamed. He paid us, paid the mayor, paid everyone. We were cowards, Miss Rose, plain and simple. No excuse for it. But when that Dutch merit stood up, when he made us look at what we'd become, he trailed off. Some of us remembered we were supposed to be lawmen, not hired thugs. The door opened. Dutch, pale, bleeding through his bandages, stood there, leaning against the frame, gun in hand. "So, what now?" he asked. "Now?" Graves looked at them both. "Now Blackwood's going to prison, the mayor's been removed, and you two, you're free, no charges, clean slate. Real quick, if this story's got your heart pounding, if you're feeling what I'm feeling, smash that like button, share this with everyone, subscribe because the ending, you're not ready. And drop a comment, where are you watching from right now? I want to know where my tribe's at." Magnolia looked at Dutch. Dutch looked at Magnolia. "That's it?" she said. "We're just free?" Graves nodded. "That's it." But something in his eyes said there was more to this story, something darker. After the sheriff and his men rode away, the silence in the cabin was deafening. Dutch lowered himself back onto the cot, wincing. "Well, that was unexpected." Magnolia paced. "Something's wrong. That was too easy. Blackwood doesn't just give up. He's in jail. Men like him don't stay in jail." She was right. Dutch knew it, but he was too tired and too shot up to care right then. "We'll deal with it tomorrow," he said. "Tonight, we rest." But tomorrow came faster than either of them wanted. They woke to the sound of screaming. Dutch bolted upright. Pain be damned. Magnolia grabbed the rifle. They burst outside. The valley was on fire. Not the cabin, not yet, but the grass, the trees, everything circling them like a noose tightening. And standing at the top of the ridge, silhouetted against the flames, Thaddeus Blackwood. "You thought the law would protect you?" His voice carried down. "I am the law. I own the judges. I own the politicians. I own everything." Dutch cursed, looked at Magnolia. "We need to move. Now." But the fire was spreading. Fast. Too fast. They were trapped. "There!" Magnolia pointed. A gap in the flames. Narrow. Dangerous. But possible. They ran. Dutch, stumbling. Magnolia supporting him. The heat. God, the heat was like walking into hell itself. The smoke choked them, blinded them. Dutch fell, couldn't get up. Magnolia grabbed him, pulled. "I'm not leaving you. Get up!" "Go." "No!" Above them, a burning tree creaked, started falling, straight toward them. Magnolia closed her eyes. This was it. Then, from nowhere, a gunshot. The tree split, fell sideways, missing them by inches. She opened her eyes. On the ridge opposite Blackwood, another rider. The rider raised a rifle in salute. Joseph Crow, Dutch's old war brother. He'd come after all, and he'd brought reinforcements. The battle was swift, brutal, final. Joseph and his men, 6 Apache warriors from the Northern Territories, descended on Blackwood's position like the wrath of God. The fire. They fought it with blankets and water from the creek, created a path. Dutch and Magnolia made it through, collapsed on the far side, breathing, alive. By the time the sun rose, Blackwood was in chains. Real chains this time, federal marshal chains. Arson, attempted murder, bribery, forgery. The marshal checked his list. "You're going to hang, Blackwood." The wealthy rancher. He didn't look so wealthy anymore, just old, tired, defeated. They took him away. Joseph approached Dutch and Magnolia. "You always were good at making friends," he said with a slight smile. Dutch laughed, then winced. "Thanks for the timing. Heard you were in trouble, figured you'd need saving." He looked at Magnolia. "Both of you." Weeks passed. Dutch healed. Magnolia stayed. They rebuilt what the fire had taken, together, side by side. One evening, sitting on the porch, watching the sunset paint the hills gold. "I never thanked you," Magnolia said quietly, "for what you did, for risking everything." Dutch was quiet for a long moment. "You reminded me of something I'd forgotten." "What's that?" that being alive and living, they're not the same thing. She took his hand, scarred, calloused, but warm. "So what now?" she asked. He squeezed her hand. "Now we live, really live." And in the distance, if you listened close, you could hear her laugh, the kind that only comes from someone who's earned their freedom the hard way. If this story moved you, if it reminded you what matters, hit that like, share it with your people, and subscribe. We've got more stories like this, real stories, raw stories. And drop a comment one last time. Where are you watching from? Because this community? We're just getting started.